Hello, everyone. This is Zami Zerwin from FilmFestivalCircuit.com and the Assistant Director of the Austin Comedy Film Festival. We're gearing up for our Summer 2023 screening, which is going to be on July 30th at the Austin Film Society Cinema. And today I'm talking with one of our participating filmmakers. Nick DeSimone is the writer and director of Full Throttle Paradise. Nick, thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Let's jump right in. What inspired the very unique film that is Full Throttle Paradise?
Well, I wanted to make a film that juxtaposed very shocking images in the umbrella of family dysfunction, number one, and unrequited love, number two, and feminism, number three. And I wanted, at the same time, I wanted it to be wildly entertaining. And I wanted to do it in a sort of nonlinear way. Okay. And I tend to write for actors that I know. Whether it's in my plays or in my films, I tend to write with specific people. As was the case with Full Throttle Paradise.
Okay, awesome. Well, and so that makes me ask. I have to ask then, how did you come up with these characters? Because they're well-rounded, they're distinct, they have personalities, they feel like they have backgrounds, that extend past the actual film itself. And then there's some real oddball characters. And I'm just curious, how did you come up with them?
Well, that's a good question. As with a lot of my writing, a lot of stuff is based on my life. Now, you may say, "Oh, this movie is based on your life. You must have a crazy life." Well, in some ways, yes. In some ways, in a lot of ways, yes. In a lot of ways, my upbringing, I was exposed to a lot of very colorful characters. Now, did I know these characters when I was growing up? In a way, yes, I did. One of the characters, the character of Cousin DeSimone, I had a Cousin DeSimone, my mother's very eccentric cousin. But
was he missing his toes?
No, he wasn't missing his toes, but he was missing something else. And at the same time, it's this character, Cousin DeSimone, is an amalgam of my Cousin DeSimone and my father's aunt, who is also very eccentric. So there are flavorings of those two real life people in the Full Throttle Paradise version of Cousin DeSimone.
Right. I love that synthesis. Well, now I'm sort of curious, being that, it's a very wacky, oddball movie. You're bringing in little bits of your experience, kind of synthesizing stuff. What's the process like, writing from, personal experience and trying to transmute it into something? Is there a balance that needs to be taken between, fact and fiction?
Yeah, well, I just tend to write, I have my pen, I just write, and I come up with a big mess of thoughts. And when I have all that big mess on the pad, I transfer it to my computer, and that's when I start to shape it, and that's when things start to make sense to me. And I'm saying, oh, this is about this, or that doesn't work, that this scene isn't quite right. Now I see what I'm going for here, what my subconscious is sort of going for, and now I'm able to get a grasp on it and get on top of it. And that's the part I like the most, is starting to shape it into, oh yeah, I see what's going on here. And then I rewrite it until I feel that it's ready to shoot. This script was based on a very short play called Sucking Fat. It's about this guy with a fetish. Now that makes its way into this film too.
Right.
And that script was a lot different from this script. It actually mentions our politicians. Talks about Obama, talks about Trump,
Mm,
talks about. But I took all that stuff out. I didn't think it was necessary,
mm.
and it was distracting from what I was really going for, and I'm glad I did.
Okay, it's very interesting to hear that process. Sounds like you kind of do maybe almost a stream of consciousness. You're writing down little episodes, you put them together, and then you can see what's the big subconscious thing that you've put out there. And
Yeah,
it's always tough to remove things, but it sounds like you kind of made that executive decision to just create something concise. One thing that strikes me a lot about your film is that it has a really cinematic quality. It has these chapters that these title cards. It's got the music. I think Joe Ferraro is the composer.
yeah, he did a
Incredible
great
job.
job.
So, and yeah, I want
Great.
to if you can talk a little bit about creating that cinematic atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that. First of all, Joe Ferrara, immensely talented composer and singer and all around great music guy. I knew I wanted him to do this. I knew he was the man for the job. So I knew musically and how important is music to a film. It really could make or break it. So I drove him a little bit crazy with coming up with the right. No, it's not quite right. It's not quite right to do it. So, but then I thought all I knew was that the opening song. I came up with this title of the song that I shared with Joe, and it was, Joe, write a song and call it in the style of old Italian singer, Vic Damone
Hmm.
you know, uh, or Lou Canova, the fictional character from from Woody Allen's Broadway Danny Rose, so title it. I never thought I'd cry again till I met you. And then he took that and he ran with it. And he came up with this great song, and that opens the film. Now, as far as the and then each of all of the music that he wrote is just he just nailed it, and it works for the film, I think. As far as the chapters, we had an initial rough cut of the film. It just didn't work. So then I met with the brilliant Dan Simon, Daniel Hendricks Simon, and he began to edit it. He took over as editor, and um, I shared with him this idea that I think we should break it down into chapters, and I even gave him. Uh, I said it's sort of like Breaking the Waves. There's that film from the '90s, Breaking the Waves, that had chapters.
Mm,
Hannah and Her Sisters by Woody Allen. Love that film. Has title cards,
right.
chapters. And I thought, I think that sort of idea would really work and sort of bookend these little, scenes. And and that combined with Joe's music,
Totally.
it was a winning combination.
Absolutely. I love to hear pulling specific kind of film references and stuff like that. It's always interesting to see what is the sort of the cultural backbone that is nourishing contemporary production. So, Nick, you are an experienced filmmaker. Seems like you've been working in the industry making films for a long time. Is that correct?
Yes, somewhat. I have a background in theater.
Okay.
Um, uh, and I consider myself actually a real kind of Full Throttle Paradise is my second film.
Okay.
So I I don't consider myself a veteran filmmaker. I consider myself just getting revved up and just going, and I have and I feel good about what I've done so far. Um, and But one thing I wanted to say to go back to the cinematic
Oh
quality, a
yeah.
lot of that had to do with the cinematographer George Gibson. I think he did a really good job in getting the look of the film. So that was a big key ingredient.
Totally.
It was getting George on board, because he really did a great job. Because I told George I wanted to look like a film. I don't want it to look like a lot of short films or a lot of films that just look like videos, that just look like
Right.
skits on video. I don't want it to have that quality. I want it to look like I wanted Full Throttle Paradise to look like a film, almost like it's a feature film that's a compact feature film. That's
Right.
beginning and middle and end, and it looks like a film.
Absolutely.
And when you see it on the screen in a film, it looks like a film. And a lot of and also the wonderful actors, Robert Finaro, uh, Karen Giordano, Jason Furlani, Estelle Bajou, Bill Whedon, Vince Maritato, C.J. Gelfand, Charles Cassano. They are very experienced, seasoned actors, and they brought that, and they all have background in theater, and they brought that deep quality to the film. So that combined with George's work, combined with the Joe Ferrara's music, now it's just all a matter of just shaping it the right way in the editing room.
Totally. Well, I love that. Even it's like even for something that's a 15-minute short, if you put care into these certain elements, getting the experienced acting talent, working with a musician to get it done, getting the DP, it's now elevated to that cinematic film quality. And I really respect you putting all that effort into these different
Oh,
dimensions. Like you said, you didn't just want another video skit.
right. Thank you. Yeah.
So tell me, what did you learn from this process? What any new insights on either directing, writing, the filmmaking thing in general?
Yeah. One. Uh, Well, actually, a couple of things. One key thing is to this is a very technical thing, is to make sure that, and in my first two films I didn't do this.
Mm,
But with these other films that I worked on since then, is to make sure you have the editor all lined up, ready to
mm,
go, as opposed to let's shoot it and let's find an editor.
okay.
It just slows down the whole thing. It breaks up the momentum. And I think the best thing to do is, okay, to all the stuff that we shot today, send it right to the editor who's already lined up.
Okay, yeah.
So that's one thing. Um, the other thing is, how it's sort of, the importance of having a good producer, and
Mm,
and somebody that's going to really be on top of the locations, um, uh, and somebody that's going to be good with scheduling, the whole call sheets thing. I'm not uh, that great at that aspect of filmmaking,
totally.
and it's important to get somebody on board that's good with that. Uh, so, that's really key. You know,
Totally.
and also, lastly, the importance of locations, because it's you have just finding the right locations for each scene, for each shot. It's so important. And I was really obsessed with that, just making sure the right, for each scene, for each, it was the right
Totally.
location, the most vivid looking thing. And it took me a long time to get those locations, but I finally did it. And it wasn't easy. One location was very cold. We were shooting in February.
Mm,
I can't begin to tell you, how difficult it was. And
totally.
and there wasn't great heat in this in the motorcycle bike shop. There was, in some scenes, you could see the cold, coming out of the actor's mouth.
Totally.
When Grace, Mama Grace, played by Grandma Grace, played by C.J. Gelfand, she looks like she's shivering, and she's actually shivering because it was so cold. I felt
Jeez.
terrible, but it actually works for the film.
Yeah.
When she's like, when she's but so.
So I mean, those are great insights because
Thank you.
a lot of people like to muse on the more creative sides, but you're saying like, listen, get the editor lined up, check those boxes, get a producer, get the call sheets out. Then you can blossom that creativity. If you don't have the administrative stuff taken care of, you're going to be running around like a headless chicken.
That's exactly right, and of course, making sure the script is just a winner.
Totally.
Making sure
I love that. Yeah.
rewrite.
Pre-production makes the shooting process so much more fun and rewarding.
Absolutely, and making sure the right actors, are are, are in the thing. Just get outstanding actors, because
Totally.
that can make or break it. That could really, that's so key.
Absolutely. So, Nick, you said that you had been working on some more stuff after Full Throttle Paradise. Do you have any other shorts coming out soon?
Yes, film wise, just give me 1 second.
No worries.
Film wise, because I also do theater. I won't even talk about that stuff. I collaborated with Dan Simon on it's in post-production, a film called Cutwish, about a barber who was forced to shut down in the pandemic. It's a dark comedy. Dan and I wrote it, and we shot it. I'm actually in the film.
Oh, cool.
I also act, and the star of the film is Nelson Avidan, who's a wonderful, wonderful actor. So that's Cutwish. I'm working on this adapting a short play of mine called The French Connection 3, and it has nothing to do with the French Connection series. I don't even know if I could use that title, but
Right.
as of now, it's called The French Connection 3. I might have to alter it a little bit. We're in pre-production for that film, so we're going to hopefully be shooting in August.
Excellent. That's going to be a short as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a short, and it takes place in a senior assisted living facility, and it's all cast, and it's going to be starring Marsha Halfrecht and John Short, and there's actually a third character that hasn't been cast yet, and I have somebody in mind for it. But I'm very excited about the project. George Gibson, the DP from Full Throttle Paradise, is going to be the cinematographer on this one also.
Oh, excellent. Okay, well, you have great momentum on these projects. That's
fantastic. Thank you.
Well, is there anything else, Nick, that you'd like to say about Full Throttle Paradise?
Just I hope many people get to see it. I'm looking forward to flying down to Austin to see. It's a film that really works with a live audience. I've been so happy about how audiences have been responding to it. It's such a satisfying feeling, and so I hope the momentum continues for the film. And totally. I look forward to seeing how it plays in Austin.
Well, I think it's going to do fantastically at the Austin Comedy Film Festival on July 30th. I think people are really going to love, the characters. They're so wacky, but they're so human too. And I think that's going to be huge. Thank you so much for talking to me, Nick. And I hope to see a lot more from you soon.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
All right. Take care.
Take care now.
Bye.